Jason stood at the edge of his small balcony, watching the sun dip below the distant hills. His heart ached with a gentle, steady pulse of longing. Ever since Mira had moved to the lunar colony, their late-night talks and shared adventures felt like fading stars in the sky. He remembered her laughter echoing down the hallway, the warmth of her hand in his, and the way her eyes shone when she spoke of new discoveries. Now there was only silence and the cold hum of the city below. Each morning, Jason woke to the same emptiness. He carried on his daily routine: breakfast alone, a quick run through the empty park, and hours spent at his workbench tinkering with old gadgets. He built small machines meant to catch messages in the wind, hoping that one day Mira's voice might ride on a breeze and find its way back to him. But no wind carried her words. No signal cracked the static between Earth and the moon. At night, he opened his laptop to scan the colony's public feed. He watched scenes of lunar farmers tending greenhouses under artificial light, children skipping along dusty streets, and crews harvesting ice from craters. He wanted to see Mira's face, to know she was safe and happy. But the images were always of strangers who called her engineer or scientist. He felt proud of her courage, yet he also felt the sharp sting of distance. Jason tried to send messages. He wrote long emails that described the first flowers blooming in his garden, the taste of hot coffee warming his lips on crisp mornings, and the songs the sparrows sang at dawn. He poured his heart into every word. But each time he pressed send, his excitement sank when the message status stayed pending. The Lunar Coms network was slow, and replies might take weeks. He did not want to pressure Mira, but he missed her so much that he could not stop writing. One afternoon, he found an old recording of their last shared hike. He pressed play and heard Mira's voice calling out as they climbed a rocky hill. "Look, Jason," she said, breathless with excitement. "You can see the whole valley from here." He smiled at the memory and pressed the record button on his console. Carefully, he replayed her words, then added his own message: "I miss you. I hope you hear this someday." He sent the recording into space, encoded it in a pattern of light pulses that might catch the attention of passing satellites. Days passed. Jason kept busy planting seeds in his small balcony garden, adjusting the solar panels on his roof, and volunteering at the local shelter. He helped design a water filter for a remote village, hoping that his work would reach Mira's eyes and remind her of his care for others. Still, each night he stood on the balcony, whispering her name into the quiet air. Then, one evening, his console beeped with an incoming transmission. His hands trembled as he opened the file. The screen lit up with static, then formed into Mira's smiling face. "Jason," she said softly, "I've been so busy, but I never stopped thinking about you." His chest tightened with joy. Her voice was a gentle melody that wrapped around his soul. She explained how she had been part of an emergency response team repairing life support on the colony's habitat. She apologized for the delay and spoke of her longing to hear about Earth's little wonders. Tears filled Jason's eyes. He replied with a smile so wide it hurt his cheeks. "Planted the first rose this spring," he said, his voice catching. "I've missed your laughter more than the sun misses the night." They spoke for hours, their words weaving a bridge across the vast emptiness of space. Each story and each laugh erased a piece of the distance between them. In the days that followed, they agreed to send regular recordings. Jason captured sunrise songs from sparrows and the scent of jasmine drifting. Through his window, Mira sent back videos of lunar dust swirling in low gravity and the soft glow of Earth rising above the horizon. They built a shared journal online, filling it with pictures, poems, and drawings of things they wished to explore together someday. Through their perseverance, they learned that true connection did not depend on being side by side. It thrived on the promise of effort and the strength of hope. Every message sent and received became a testament to their bond. Their HFY spirit shone brightest in those moments when word and silence met, and neither could win alone. Jason no longer felt alone on his balcony. Even when the stars glimmered in the night sky, he felt Mira's presence beside him. In the quiet of their shared stories, they had created a new dialogue, a dialogue born of silence, resilience, and the unwavering belief that distance could never dim the light of those who truly care. And with that belief, their hearts beat in unison, across worlds and beyond. Jason woke before dawn. His balcony still dark, except for the faint glow of the streetlights below. He wrapped his blanket tight around his shoulders, as if it could bring Mira closer. Last night's video call replayed in his mind, her warm smile, the soft curve of her laugh, and the way her eyes reflected both pride and loneliness. He felt both joy and ache at once. They had connected, but space still lay between them like a silent chasm. He brewed tea in the kitchen and carried the steaming cup back to the balcony. Tiny wisps of steam rose into the cool air. He closed his eyes and imagined Mira there with him, sipping her favorite mint tea, talking about how strange it felt to watch Earth's sunrise from so far away. He longed to share that moment, to see her wonder at the sun's first rays. He still did not know how to bring her back to him. At work, Jason found it hard to focus. He calibrated sensors and rewrote code, but his thoughts kept wandering back to the screen that showed Mira's face. He wondered if she felt the same tug of longing. He typed a quick message in their journal. "I miss our talks under the stars." Then he deleted it. He did not want to burden her with his sadness. That evening, he visited the community center where volunteers prepared care packages for people adjusting to life changes. He helped sort through letters and small gifts, tying each bundle with a ribbon. He thought of Mira and how much a simple gift might cheer her. He picked out a small tin of Earth's soil, rich, dark earth that he had scooped from his garden. He remembered how Mira once said she would plant earth flowers in lunar soil to remind her of home. He held the tin in his hand and closed his eyes, picturing her smiling when she opened it. Back on his balcony, Jason set the tin on the railing. He taped a message card to it. "A piece of home for you. Plant it and think of me." He looked up at the night sky at the bright dot that was Luna and whispered, "I hope you get this." Then he started to record, the distant call of an owl, the soft rustle of leaves, in his own voice saying, "I believe in us." He packed the tin and recording into a secure capsule designed for cargo flights to the colony. Days passed without word. Jason's hope wavered. He worried the capsule might be lost, or that Mira was too busy to send even a quick reply. Each sunrise felt heavier, as though the light could not reach his heart, yet he refused to give up. He believed in humanity's power to bridge any gap, no matter how vast. That's what HFY meant to him, using every tool, every ounce of spirit, to reach out and connect. Finally, his console tingled with a notification, a reply from Mira. His breath caught. He opened the message, and there she was, her face bright on the screen. Behind her, he saw rows of green shoots sprouting in a lunar greenhouse. Mira held a small pot, its soil streaked with silver dust. In the center, a tiny green sprout pushed upward. "Jason," she said, voice warm, "your soil arrived safe. Look, life grows here." She smiled, and his heart lifted like a ship in calm waters. She lifted the tin and showed the recording. "Device. I also heard your message. The owl's call reminded me of home." He pressed his hand to his chest, feeling his heartbeat strong and steady. She spoke of her busy days repairing habitat modules, but she made time to nurture that plant and listen to his sounds. She thanked him for the gift and said she thought of him every day. Encouraged by her words, Jason planned his next step. He gathered small items that spoke of Earth's kindness, a pressed flower, a note from his shelter friends, a tiny carved wooden figurine shaped like a moon rabbit. He packed them with a recording of children singing and the distant sound of footsteps on dewy grass. He wrote a note. "May these pieces of earth remind you of warmth, friendship, and hope. I am with you always." Meanwhile, on the lunar colony, Mira watched the video clips Jason sent. She felt the warmth of his care spread through her like sunlight. She placed each gift in a small box in her quarters, a growing collection of Earth's embrace. She recorded a message of her own, the sound of air cycling in the habitat, her own quiet humming, and a promise. "I will come home when I can. Until then, let us stay connected." As Jason watched her recording, he felt a surge of pride and determination. He realized that distance could not break their bond. It only made them stronger. Every gift, every message, every shared moment was proof that humanity's hope could span stars. Even silence, when filled with effort and heart, carried a powerful voice. That night, Jason stood on his balcony once more. He looked at the moon, now glowing softly overhead. He whispered, "We will meet again." His voice was steady with belief. In the quiet that followed, he felt Myra's promise echo in his soul. Humanity's spirit, a refusal to stay apart, a drive to reach across the void beat within him like a drum. And with that heartbeat, he carried hope into tomorrow. Jason woke to the soft hum of his alarm and sat on the edge of his bed, staring at the blank wall opposite him. Empty space there once held a photo of him and Mira laughing under a cherry blossom tree. He traced the spot with his finger, feeling a gentle ache in his chest. Even after weeks of messages, he still felt an ocean between them. He missed her kindness, her energy, and the way she always saw the best in him. He wanted to reconnect, but he did not know how to bridge the gap. He brewed a strong cup of tea and carried it outside to his balcony. The city below was just waking. Lights flickered off, engines rumbled on the streets, and a cool breeze brushed his face. He closed his eyes and pictured Mira on the lunar horizon, facing her own sunrise. Imagined her wonder at how Earth's dawn felt so familiar and yet so distant from her new home. His heart lifted at the thought of sharing that moment, but then sank again when he remembered how far away she was. That afternoon, Jason walked to the local science museum where he volunteered. He helped guide school children through exhibits about space travel. He told them stories of explorers who faced unknown dangers with courage and hope. Watching the children's eyes light up reminded him of his own passion and of the excitement he once shared with Mira. He realized that his HFY spirit, his human drive to explore and connect, was still strong. He resolved to use that spirit to find a new way to reach her. On his way home, he stopped at an electronics shop. He scanned shelves of wires, screens, and lights. An idea formed in his mind. What if he could create a public display that sent messages into space? He picked out a high-powered LED array, a simple radio transmitter, and a small computer board. His pulse quickened. For the first time in days, he felt a spark of excitement. He imagined broadcasting his hope across the heavens, a silent beacon that Myra could see and feel. Back in his workshop, Jason worked late into the night. He soldered connections, wrote code, and tested circuits. The LED array glowed in rainbow patterns, and the transmitter hummed with potential. He programmed the sequence to spell out a short message in Morse code, "I believe in you." He chose simple words, knowing that in space, clarity matters more than poetry. Each pulse of light and radio wave would carry his heart across the void. He climbed onto his balcony again, carrying the device carefully. He placed it on the railing, adjusted its angle toward the moon, and connected it to his power supply. He took a deep breath and flipped the switch. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the lights began to blink in steady rhythm, and the radio waves pulsed into the night. Jason watched as the code ran. Light pause, a silent call to the sky. As he watched, doubt crept in. What if Myra never saw it? What if the signal faded in the empty space or was lost in static? His chest tightened with worry. He thought of all the ways he had tried to reconnect. Letters, recordings, care packages. Each effort had brought them closer, yet the distance still weighed on him. He closed his eyes and whispered to the stars, "Please let her know I care." The next morning, he woke to a ping on his console, a message from Myra. His heart thundered as he opened it. There was no video this time, just a short file of audio and images. He played it, and a gentle melody filled his room, a tune he had once hummed while working on his projects. The screen showed a small window of the lunar sky where he could see tiny flashes of light moving across the darkness. Myra's voice then said, "I saw your message. It felt like you were here with me." Tears filled Jason's eyes. He pressed his hand to his chest and leaned back in his chair, the morning light warm on his face.
How
Mira explained that the colony's communication array had detected the pattern of lights. They had decoded his Morse message and replayed it on larger transmitters. She had listened late into her night, waiting for the signal. Her words rang with pride and love. "Your hope reached me. Your spirit shines brighter than any star." Jason smiled, feeling the weight lift from his shoulders. He replied with quick energy, "You inspired me. You always do." He added plans to work on a new device together, joint project that would let them share real-time messages. Even from miles away, they could build something that showed their bond. He sketched designs and wrote down ideas, his mind buzzing with possibilities. That evening, Jason stood on his balcony once more. He looked at the moon, now a glowing disk above the city skyline. He felt Mira's presence in the cool air and in the blinking lights of his device. He realized that distance was not an end. It was a challenge that humanity's best traits could overcome: creativity, persistence, and faith in each other. His heart swelled with hope. He knew that as long as they both reached out, their connection would grow stronger, one light pulse at a time. Jason woke early, feeling a tight knot in his chest. The sky was still dark, and the city below was quiet. He missed Mira more than ever. Her laughter, her voice, the way she looked at him, they felt like distant memories now. He sat at his desk and stared at their shared journal on his screen. Pages of photos, messages, and sketches filled the digital space. But even that felt empty without her real-time replies. He wanted to talk to her, to hear her voice again, but he did not know how to make it happen faster. At breakfast, Jason poured cereal and milk without really seeing his bowl. His mind raced with ideas. He had tried letters, gifts, light signals, and radio pulses. Each effort sparked hope, but also reminded him of the distance. He sighed and thought of the children at the museum, their bright eyes when he spoke of Earth's wonders. He realized that he needed something bigger, something that could capture not just Mira's attention, but the attention of everyone who believed in human creativity and connection. All day, he worked on a new plan. He called local artists, engineers, and volunteers. He shared his dream of a star bridge, a network of drones that would carry floating lanterns into the night sky. Each lantern pulsing with messages from Earth. The drones would form shapes that spelled out greetings and lights visible from the lunar colony's orbit. He explained how this show would celebrate human unity and resilience. People of all ages volunteered, excited by the chance to reach beyond their world. Jason felt his heart lift as more hands joined the project, each person adding their own spark of hope. Over the next week, Jason and his team built prototypes in the community center. They tested small drones, taught them to carry LED lanterns, and coded them to follow precise flight paths. They practiced releasing the lanterns in patterns that formed letters and shapes. At first, the drones wobbled and one lantern drifted off course. But with each test, the team learned and improved. Jason spent late nights debugging code, welding frames, and encouraging his friends. He saw the HFY spirit in every volunteer, a refusal to accept limits, belief that humans could light up the darkness together. On the night of the launch, a crowd gathered in the open field outside the city. Families, scientists, artists, and curious onlookers stood under a clear sky. Jason felt his nerves spike as he activated the control panel, took a deep breath, and guided the first wave of drones aloft. They rose silently, lanterns glowing like stars against the black canvas. The crowd gasped as the lights pulsed and shifted, spelling out, "Mira, we miss you." Then the drones reformed into a giant heart of light that beat in time with the music playing softly through speakers far away. In her lunar habitat, Mira was working late on a maintenance task when her monitor blinked with an incoming data stream. Curious, she opened the link and watched in awe as the lantern display appeared on her screen. She saw Earth's night sky fill with glowing messages, bright against the dark void. The words, "Mira, we miss you," shone like a beacon. Her heart swelled with emotion, tears filled her eyes, and she felt a warmth that reached across the miles. The heart-shaped pulsed 3 times before fading, leaving only the glow of hope in her soul back on Earth. The crowd cheered as Jason watched the live feed of Mira's reaction. He felt his chest tighten with relief and joy. "Oh," he spoke into his headset, "the bridge is complete." The team erupted in laughter and applause. Jason knew this moment was more than just a stunt. It was proof that humanity could unite across worlds with art, technology, and love. He looked up at the sky, imagining the lanterns drifting forever in space. That night, Jason and Mira talked for hours. She described the display in vivid detail, how each lantern seemed alive, flickering with his voice. He told her about the volunteers, the late nights, and the hope that drove them. They planned their next project, a series of joint broadcasts that would share stories from Earth and the Moon, even though they could not be together in person. They felt closer than before. In the days that followed, the Star Bridge became a symbol of human spirit. News of the display reached other space colonies and Earth cities. People shared photos and messages, inspired to create their own bridges. Jason and Mira continued their work, building connections that spanned the stars. They learned that true distance was nothing more than a challenge to overcome. With each idea, each gesture, and each bright light in the sky, they proved that humanity's hope and creativity could turn silence into a song of unity and that no one was ever truly alone. Jason woke before sunrise, the sky still dark and full of stars. He rubbed his eyes and headed to his workshop. Last night's Star Bridge had been a success, but he knew there was more to do. He wanted to share real-time moments with Mira, not just messages sent in flashes of light. He imagined her watching Earth's dawn at the same time he saw it, connected across that empty space. The thought made his heart pound with hope. He set up a long-range video link using surplus satellite dishes and custom code. He worked carefully, tightening bolts and testing cables. His hands moved with confidence, born of many late nights solving tough problems. Every twist of a wire and line of code was a promise that humans could reach across worlds to touch each other's lives. He believed in that promise. He believed in HFY, in humanity's power to connect through creativity. By mid-morning, the equipment was ready. Jason stood back and took a deep breath. He activated the link and watched as the viewfinder flickered to life. Image was grainy at first, a dark horizon, then the first sliver of red as the sun crept up. He felt a surge of triumph. He sent a message to Mira. "Good morning. Let us watch together." He tapped his console, and the link began broadcasting to the lunar colony's network. On the moon, Myra was in her small quarters, tinkering with a repair drone. She paused when her terminal blinked with an incoming invitation. Curiosity and delight sparkled in her eyes. She scrubbed her hands clean, wiped her forehead, and settled beside the viewer. The screen glowed, showing Earth's blue curve and the dim line of dawn. He pressed join and smiled, her heart lifting at the sight of Jason's eager face. Together, they watched the sunrise. Jason pointed and said, "Look at the way the clouds glow." Mira laughed softly and replied, "It is more beautiful than I remembered." They spoke over the crackling feed, sharing the moment. Every pixel of light carried their voices across space. In that fragile connection, Jason felt Mira's presence as clearly as if she stood on his balcony. His chest filled with warmth and pride for what they had built. But just as the sun's disk rose fully, the image froze. Static lines danced across the screen, and the video link died. Jason's heart sank. He pressed buttons and checked wires, but the feed would not return. He paced the room, mind racing. He did not want to lose this bond he had fought so hard to create. He refused to give up. Humanity, he reminded himself, found a way when others saw none. He contacted his volunteer team and explained the problem. They worked together, even racing. Against Earth's rotation, they recalibrated antennas, rewrote transmission code, and reinforced signal amplifiers. As they toiled, Jason thought of all the explorers who pushed past barriers, divers, mountain climbers, astronauts. He felt their spirit in every effort. He believed that if humans could walk on the moon, they could surely keep a simple video link alive. Hours later, just as the sun reached its peak, Jason activated the link again. He held his breath and watched the screen. Moment of blackness, then a ripple of color. The video feed returned. The sky on the moon was dark, but the earth was. Bright behind Jason's shoulder, Mira's face appeared, relief shining in her eyes. "You did it," she said softly. Jason grinned and replied, "We did it together." They spent the next hour talking as the earth moved through the sky. Jason showed her the busy streets below, the flowering trees in his garden, and the stray cat that often visited his doorstep. Mira showed him her lunar habitat, rows of greens growing under LED lights, the crater wall beyond her window, and fellow colonists walking in low gravity. Each new scene made them feel closer, as if the void between them had narrowed. Link ended. They lingered on the last frame. Jason whispered, "Every day, I will share Earth's moments with you." Mira nodded, her smile gentle and certain. "I will show you our life here," she promised. Even through their screens, they felt the strength of their bond. They had turned distance into a challenge, a call to create something beyond simple words. That was humanity's true power, turning silence into connection, emptiness into hope. Jason powered down his console and stepped outside into the warm afternoon. He looked up at the sky, the moon, a pale disk, hanging above. He felt Mira's promise in his heart. He knew the distance remained, but it no longer felt like a barrier. It felt like a path to new possibilities. With each sunrise they shared, each project they built, their story became a testament to the human spirit. And with that spirit guiding them, hope would always light their way. Jason woke with a start, his chest tight as if he had been holding his breath all night. He sat up in bed and reached for his tablet, where messages from Myra glowed softly in the dark. He had watched her video this morning, seen her smile as she tended the lunar greenhouse, and yet he felt that ache of distance again. He loved hearing her voice, but living thousands of miles apart across a planet and a moon felt like an empty promise. He wanted something more than video or light signals. He wanted them to share the same sky. He rose and paced his small apartment. He thought of their last project, the Star Bridge, and how they had shown their connection through lantern drones. That display had lit Earth's sky and sparked hope on the moon. But it had been fleeting, a single night of lights. Then silence again. Jason believed there must be a way to create something more lasting, something they could both look at every night and know they were under it together. Humanity's hell yeah attitude pushed him forward, refused to be stopped by mere distance. At breakfast, Jason sketched ideas on a napkin. What if he could map the night sky in a way that spelled out a message? A living constellation that changed slowly, shining brighter when they sent a thought and dimming when they missed each other. He imagined a network of small ground-based star projectors telescopes with lasers that could draw faint lines between real stars, outlining shapes only they could decode. He called it the constellation of us. He reached out to local astronomers. He met Dr. Lee at the city observatory, where huge telescopes pointed toward the heavens. Jason shared his dream, a programmable laser array that could connect stars with beams, forming simple patterns visible from space. Dr. Lee's eyes lit up. "It's ambitious," she said, "but not impossible. We'll need precise timing and cooperation from observatories around the world." Volunteers from art and engineering clubs joined, excited to collaborate on a human story written across the sky. For weeks, Jason and his new team worked in rotating shifts. They calibrated lasers, synchronized clocks by GPS, and coded patterns into a central server. Each night, a different observatory activated its laser at a specific time, drawing a single line across the stars. When all lines connected, they formed a simple shape, a heart, or a wave, or the letters M+J. The pattern lasted just a few minutes before fading. But that was enough for someone watching from afar to see it and feel its meaning. On the night of the first full test, Jason climbed a hill outside the city with his laptop and a small telescope. He aimed at the sky and pressed the go button. Across the world, beams of light flared quietly, tracing lines between stars in the familiar constellation of Orion. As he watched, the beams connected, forming the shape of a handshake to hands meeting in the middle of the sky. Jason felt tears prick his eyes. He typed a quick message. "For you, Mira." Then he waited hours later while he slept. The lunar observatory received the data. Mira, working the late shift, saw the faint beams recorded on the colony's star camera. She replayed the sequence and gasped. Under the moon's dark sky, she watched the constellation of Orion light up with an impossible pattern. The shape of a handshake stretched across the stars she knew so well. In that silent display, she felt Jason's hand reaching for hers. She recorded a short message. "I see you. I feel you." She sent it back through the relay. Morning sunlight woke Jason. His tablet pinged with a new message. He opened it and saw Mira's words against a background of lunar dust. His heart leaped. She described how the beams had cut through the darkness, how she felt his hope shining brighter than any star. He held the tablet close and whispered, "We're under the same sky." Then he knew this project was more than art or technology. It was a living symbol of human resilience, of HFY in action. That evening, Jason set up a small star projector in his balcony garden, aimed it at Orion and traced the handshake again, slower this time, for his neighbors to see. Children stopped their play and looked up. Couples held hands and pointed. Jason smiled, feeling a spark of unity spread through the crowd. He recorded their reactions and sent the video to Mira. She laughed and said she would gather her friends to watch the next display. Even though they were apart, they had created a shared moment under the vast, unchanging sky. Jason closed his eyes and looked up at the stars. He felt less lonely now. He and Myra had turned sadness into action, distance into a canvas for their hope. In every beam of light and every planned line between stars, humanity's spirit shone bold, creative, and unbreakable. And as long as they both looked up at Orion, they would know they were connected by something greater than distance, a constellation of hope drawn by the hands of two people who refused to give up. Jason woke before the city stirred, his heart heavy with the familiar ache of missing Myra. He stared at the small speaker on his desk, the latest version of the Earth's voice device he and his volunteers had built. It could pick up weak radio signals from the moon and play them as sound. Last night, Mira had sent him a short loop of wind chimes from her garden dome. He had listened on repeat, letting the gentle music fill his apartment. But today he felt that alone ache again. He wanted something more than loops. He wanted to hear her live voice, to know she spoke his name in real time. He dressed quickly and headed to the community radio station where hobbyists met each morning. The station's array of antennas and transmitters covered a wide range of frequencies. Jason carried his device and explained his plan to create a human relay network that would boost a live audio link between Earth and the lunar colony. He sketched a diagram showing how local amateur operators could pass his signal from station to station until it reached the deep space uplink. It would take many hands, but that was the point. Humans working together to reach beyond their world. Enthusiasm flared in the room. Radio operators of all ages crowded around, checking maps of relay points and testing channels. They dialed frequencies, shared technical tips, and laughed at old radio jokes. Jason felt a surge of hope. This was humanity at its best, cooperating, solving a challenge, and believing nothing was impossible when people joined forces. Over the next 2 days, Jason coordinated the network. He sent detailed instructions to dozens of volunteers in distant towns, each adjusting their equipment for precise timing. He wrote clear messages in simple code so that even novices could participate. Every test brought the signal a little further, from city to countryside, across oceans, and up to the orbital relay station. Each success felt like a small victory, proof that human spirit could unite across borders, and even into space. On the third evening, Jason climbed the roof of the radio station just as the moon rose. He tuned his Earth voice to the uplink channel and pressed the call button. His heart pounded as he whispered, "Hello, Mira. Can you hear me?" He held the mic close and waited, silence stretching like an ocean. Then, faint but clear, her voice came through. "Jason, is that you?" His chest warmed, and his eyes filled with tears of joy. "Mira, I can hear you," he said, his voice breaking. They spoke in short bursts, voices crackling over static. Jason described the night sky above his city, the quiet, hum of the station around him, and the faces of people who had joined his cause. Mira replied with stories of lunar dust dancing in the lights and the calm radiance of Earth rising above her horizon. Each word they shared felt like a bridge across the emptiness. Their talk lasted only minutes before the signal faded. Jason held the mic, savoring the echo of her voice. He smiled at the group of volunteers gathered behind him. They cheered. Softly, some blinking back tears, Jason thanked them all. "You made this possible," he said. "You proved that when humanity stands together, even the stars cannot keep us apart." That night, Jason lay in bed with the Earth voice device by his pillow. He replayed their live call, listening to the pattern of her laughter and the gentle cadence of her speech. I thought of all the people who had turned on their radios at the right time, who had tinkered with wires and frequencies, who had believed in his dream. He felt proud to be human, proud of the hell yeah spirit that drove them to create connection out of silence. At dawn, a new message arrived. This time it was longer, Mira describing her morning routine, reading a poem she wrote for him, and promising more live calls when possible. Jason pressed play and read along with her words. I typed a quick reply. I love you. Thank you for hearing me. He scheduled the next network relay, ready to gather volunteers again. Jason stepped outside into the fresh morning air. He looked up at the pale moon still hanging low in the sky. He spoke to it softly. We will meet again, in that gentle whisper. He felt the echoes of every radio signal, every human hand that had lifted their voice in his behalf. He carried the memory of Mira's voice in his heart, a living testament to hope. And with each new dawn, he knew that humanity's true power was not in machines or signals, but in the belief that no distance, no silence, could ever break the bond of caring hearts. Jason woke before dawn, his heart full of hope and a little fear. The moon hung low in the sky, a pale guide to the world where Mira lived now. He wrapped himself in his coat and stepped outside. The cold air felt sharp, but he breathed it in like a gift. Today was the day he would try the hardest thing yet, to cross the distance not by light or radio, but in person. For weeks, Jason had worked with engineers and volunteers to arrange a return flight to the lunar colony. He had never flown in a spacecraft before, but he knew that nothing could match the power of human determination. He had shared his dream with friends at the community radio station, the observatory, and the science museum. Each time he spoke, more people joined his cause, donating time, skills, and hope. He visited the launch pad at sunrise, a small transport ship stood ready, its hull polished and wires humming with energy. Technicians checked all the systems, while volunteers from Earth and the colony sent video messages of encouragement. Jason touched the ship's side and felt the hum under his fingers. It was a promise of connection, a human-crafted vessel, meant to span the empty space between them. Inside the ship's cabin, Jason strapped into his seat. He felt a knot of nerves in his stomach, but he remembered every effort he had made. The glowing lanterns, the live broadcasts, the drawn constellations. Each attempt had been a step toward this moment. He closed his eyes and thought of Mira's laughter, her steady courage on the moon, and the countless messages they had shared. He focused on that warmth, letting it guide him upward. The engines roared, and Jason felt a deep push against his body. The ground fell away as the ship rose into the sky. Through the window, he watched Earth's blue curve grow smaller, then disappear into the blackness. His breath caught when he saw the moon ahead, its gray surface bathed in sunlight. He gripped the armrest and whispered, "I'm coming." The trip took hours, but it felt like seconds and centuries all at once. Jason ran systems checks and watched the controls, but his mind drifted to memories of Myra's stories, the gentle sway of the greenhouse in low gravity, the hush of lunar dust settling around her. He felt proud of how far humans had come to walk on the moon, to talk across space, and now to carry a heart across the void. When the ship touched down, Jason felt a soft bump and then a smooth silence. He opened his eyes and saw the lunar base's gleaming domes just outside the window. He unbuckled his seatbelt, his legs light in the low gravity. He stepped into the airlock and felt the gentle pulse of the habitat's life support systems. Every hiss and click sounded like a chorus of welcome. Outside the airlock gate opened, and Jason saw Mira waiting. She stood in her suit, helmet under her arm, and sunlight glinted off her hair. Her eyes went wide when she spotted him. Jason's breath caught as he met her gaze, held up his hand, trembling with emotion. Mira ran forward, her boots bouncing in the soft gravity, and wrapped him in a hug. He felt her warmth even through his own suit. They stood together under the pale sky, Earth rising above the horizon like a second sun. Jason took Mira's hand and said, "We did it. We made this real." Mira smiled, tears in her eyes. "Your hope brought you here," she replied. "Your spirit reached me, and now I reach you." They laughed softly, the sound echoing in the quiet of the moon. Inside the habitat, Jason and Mira shared a simple meal with the colony's team. They told stories of Earth's bright skies and lunar gardens. Volunteers from both worlds cheered their reunion. In every face, Jason saw the same pride he felt, that humanity could bridge any gap when driven by care and creativity. That night, Jason and Mira stood at the big window overlooking the dusty plains. They placed their hands on the glass and watched Earth's lights sparkle in the distance. Jason whispered, "We'll share every sunrise and every star, together." Mira leaned her head on his shoulder and said, "Together, always." In that moment, there was no distance left, only to hearts beating as one under the vast, shared sky. And as they looked out at the worlds they loved, they knew that humanity's greatest power was hope. Carried across the stars by hands willing to reach,